Now let's take a few steps back to the Bonny flood issue. And now we're being joined by Fubara Dan-Jumbo, who's the chairman of the Bonny Island Flood Committee. Good afternoon, Mr. Jumbo. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. Jumbo, can you give us an insight as to what's going on in Bonny Island? What's the extent of this challenge, and why are you blaming the IOCs?
Oh, it's important that Bonny, with its position, is an island. It's not just it's not just a town, but it's an island surrounded with water, and the demographics in that area is such that Bonny is below sea level. So before the IOCs started coming into Bonny, the first terminal was set up sometime 1958. That was Shell terminal. But one thing that was very clear in Shell setting up of Shell terminal, there were channels because they're already occupying the shores. So for the community to still exist, not to be in extinction, there were channels that ran through these terminals. And these channels have been there over 40 years. All of a sudden, they started barricading the community from those facilities and closing those channels. Like we said, one of the worst side of it, if you see clips and videos, the place is already sinking down. If nothing is done, this is not a child's play, Bonny will be going under extinction. And that's why we're calling on everybody. That's why we're calling on the federal government, we're calling on the state government. It's not the local government affairs alone, but all stakeholders to get involved, even the international communities that have set up these facilities. The NLNG is a global standard company. We have Seplat, we have Renaissance that have taken over Shell. But the irony of it is, can you imagine NLNG having to get their water wells? They have well 1, 2 to 12. From 1 to 12 is a big facility. That is where they get the water that supplies the facility. And they made a road. How can you make a road, constructed a road, drainages that are supposed to be on both ends, both sides of the road, were neglected? You did not do that, but you raised the road, automatically putting the people at the other sides of the roads as if they are in a swamp. And you're seeing them going through this thing every year. Once it rains, the Bonny rain is not compared to every other place in the country because Bonny, the percentage of rains that falls in Bonny is so high. Sometimes it can rain for 1 complete month, non-stop. It's that serious. So the people will be trapped inside their house. Students will be trapped. They will not be able to access school for as long as those rains are in. Right. The worrisome part of it, when we took a tour, we saw elderly people living literally inside this flood. There are no ways that if there are people that are meant to live very well, they definitely will be affected with the kind of diseases that they will be going through.
Right.
And not only that, as an expert in structures, you see that those buildings are already running down in integrity. They will, before you know it, in years to come, we will be having lots of collapse of building in Bonny because the water is going nowhere and we need to find where this water needs to go. And it is a call on the IOCs because literally they blocked all the shores and they need to understand that they're blocking the shores, they have to allow this water to go. Right. That's why we're calling on them.
Right. So, Mr. Jumbo, based on the video and what you've said, of course, Bonny is an island, and this has been recurring. Of course, there's raining season every year, so people's lives have been affected. Their businesses, people can't go to school. You mentioned about old people living in the flood. In all this, has the government responded? What has the government said concerning this so far?
Yeah, that is why our committee was set up. Honorable Abie Blessing Pepple, who was just elected just barely 2 weeks ago. Once he came on board, he get to set up this committee, flood strikes like drainages management control committee. And that is why I have to come on board as the chairman of the committee to support this political will that for the first time an administration will come, seeing that the Bonny Master Plan has been neglected, seeing that the EIA's environmental impact assessments reports that were made before the facilities were set up, and even the post ones that were made, were all neglected. Seeing that all this been done, that's why he needs his hands to come on board and be able to, like, let's see how we could sort these things. And that's why we're not taking it lightly. We're calling on them because they're all complacent. They're all part of this whole problem. So they are stakeholders. We're not saying the local government alone should do it. They should come on board. We're even also looking at the state government to also come on board. We're looking at NEMA. We're looking at federal government to also get involved because Bonny is an economic source for this country. And it should, when things like this is happening, they should hear our cry. Not just the elderly or the youth, we have our children who are cut off from having access to education.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Jumbo, for joining us and giving us an update of what's happening in Bono. I believe that subsequently we'll follow up and see what the committee does with this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.